back to my channel and welcome to another video. So do you love simple yet delicious no-bake desserts like me? If you do, then you're in luck, because in today's video, I'm gonna be sharing 3 very easy and delicious no-bake desserts with you. These desserts require minimal ingredients, are so good, everybody always raves about them when I make them, and they're perfect for spring and summer. All right, so with all that said, let's go get started in the video. So to start us off in this video, we're gonna be making this delicious no-bake Oreo cheesecake. So here's everything you're going to need for this recipe. It doesn't require too much, so the lineup of ingredients is gonna be cream cheese, some heavy whipping cream, some butter, of course Oreos, powdered sugar, vanilla, chocolate chips, and then just to finish off with the cheesecake at the end to decorate it, I just use some Ready Whip, but it's definitely optional. So the very first thing I wanted to get done was get my Oreos ready to go so I can make my crust. So I got about 24 Oreos into my food processor. I turned it on and I broke down the Oreos until they were fine crumbs. And then I melted my butter. So I did about 4 tablespoons of butter and I poured that into the Oreo crumb mixture, and then I just mixed it all together. And then I just got my springform pan ready to go. So I lined it with some parchment paper. I just like doing this so it allows for an easy release when this is all done. And then I just scooped the Oreo mixture into the pan and I pressed it down into an even layer. And then I put it into my fridge to chill while I made my cheesecake filling. I then mixed together 3 of the 8-ounce cream cheese blocks to soften it up, and then I added in a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and 1½ teaspoons of vanilla, and I mixed that up all really well. I then just scraped the sides of the bowl with my rubber spatula, and I added in 1¼ cups of heavy whipping cream, and I whisked that on low until it had thickened up. You'll know it's done when the mixture holds its shape. I then added about 14 Oreos to a large gallon-sized bag, and I smashed it up with my wooden cookie roller, and then I added that into my filling mixture and folded it all in. So once the Oreos were all mixed in really well, I then got the filling into my pan and I smoothed it all out into an even layer with my spatula. And then once I was done, I got this in my fridge to set up. So the hardest part of making this cheesecake is having to wait for it to set up. But it's definitely so worth it if you could be patient. It needs to set up in the fridge for at least 4 hours, but it's best to set up overnight if you can make it that long. So once my cheesecake had set up and I was ready to serve it, I needed to make my chocolate ganache to go on top. So I got 1 cup of heavy cream onto my stovetop to heat it up. You can also put it in the microwave. You just want to get it hot enough to melt your chocolate chips. So once it was hot enough, I added it to 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I mixed that all up really well until my chocolate chips were completely melted. So next I needed to remove the cheesecake from my springform pan. So I just took a knife and I carefully ran it along the edge of the cheesecake just to remove it from the sides of the pan. And then I carefully removed the pan from the cheesecake, and then I just got it onto a wired rack where I poured all of the chocolate ganache right on top. And then just to finish off the decorations to go along with that delicious chocolate ganache on top, I added some dollops of Ready Whip, and then I put some whole Oreos on top, and then I did crumble up some extra Oreos that I had left, and I topped that on top of the Ready Whip. This Oreo cheesecake is so good, and what makes it the best is it requires no baking. It's not overly sweet because the cheesecake mixture doesn't have too much sugar in it, so it balances out the Oreo and chocolate ganache sweetness. My entire family loves it, and whenever I make it for any of our gatherings, people are always raving about it. The next no-bake dessert I have to share with you is a spring and summer staple, and it's creamy strawberry pound trifle cake. Here are all of the ingredients you're going to need for this dessert. You're going to need some pound cake. You can get this from the freezer section at your local grocery store. 2 boxes of vanilla pudding mix, a container of whipped topping, some milk, strawberries, sugar, and some water. And then you're going to need a trifle dish. If you don't have a trifle dish, you can just make this in a large bowl. So there's 2 very important things you need to make sure to get done before you start anything else. The first one is take out the Cool Whip out of the freezer, set it on the counter, let it soften up while you do everything else. You don't want that thing hard as a rock when you go to get this dessert done. The next was I needed to get my pudding mix made up. I just made the pudding according to the box. So I had 2 boxes of vanilla pudding mix, and so that was 6 cups of cold milk I needed to get mixed up. That's 3 cups per box. I mixed it up with the pudding mixture for about 2 minutes, and then I got it in my fridge to set up for about 5 minutes. So while my pudding was setting up, I got my strawberries cut up. So you'll need about 1 to 1.5 pounds of strawberries. So that's about 15 to 20 strawberries total, sliced. And then I just sliced the strawberries and got them into the large bowl where I added a 1/4 cup of sugar and a 1/4 cup of water, and I gave it all a good mix, and then I set that aside. Next, I sliced up my pound cake into large cubes. Once my pudding mixture was ready to go and my Cool Whip had softened up just enough, I was ready to get everything into my trifle dish. So like I said earlier, if you don't have a trifle dish, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You can use a large bowl, but just make sure the bowl is deep enough so you can get all of your layers in. What would make it even better is if you could use a clear glass bowl so then you can see all the beautiful layers of this trifle. So the first layer I started out with was my pound cake. So I just got an even layer of pound cake at the bottom of the dish. Next, I scooped a generous amount of strawberries right on top of that. Then I put a thick layer of the vanilla pudding on top of the strawberries, and next I added some Cool Whip. I just repeated this until I was up to the very top, and I made sure to finish off with the Cool Whip. And lastly, I just placed a whole strawberry right on top for a little decoration, and it was ready to serve. Look how beautiful this is. This dessert is so easy to make and so delicious. No one needs to know it's not completely homemade. It can be our little secret. It's refreshing and the perfect no-bake dessert for those warm spring and summer days. So the last no-bake dessert I have to share with you is actually a family recipe from my mother-in-law. It's one of my favorites, and it's her rainbow sherbet cake. This recipe only requires 4 ingredients, and it's so easy to make. So all you're going to need is some whipped topping, a carton of rainbow sherbet ice cream, some coconut crisp cookies, and for decoration at the end, which is completely optional, you can put some of your favorite sprinkles. So the very first thing I needed to do before I started anything was get my rainbow sherbet ice cream as well as my Cool Whip out of the freezer and set down on my countertop to soften up while I got started on my cookies. I then took about 14 or 15 of the coconut crisp cookies. I added it into my mini food processor and I got that turned on until they were smashed up completely. Next, I just got a medium-sized bowl and I added in 16 ounces of the softened whipped topping, and then I poured in my crumbled up coconut crisp cookies and I folded those in until they were mixed up really well. Next, I got a 9x13 dish and I put half of the Cool Whip mixture with the cookies mixed in on the bottom, and I used my spatula to smooth it out into an even layer. Next, I got my softened rainbow sherbet ice cream and I scooped out about half of the carton on top of the Cool Whip mixture. You can do more if you want, it's really up to you. I just like to do half, and then I just smoothed it out with my spatula into an even layer. And then I just took the rest of the Cool Whip mixture and I put that on top of the ice cream, and then I smoothed that out into the even layer as well. And lastly, I just topped it with some rainbow sprinkles. So this needs to set up in the freezer. It needs to set up for about 3 to 4 hours, but it would be best to set up overnight. So if you can be patient and plan ahead, make this the day before, whenever you want to serve this, and then the next day it's ready to go. This dessert comes together so quickly, it's so simple to make, it's good and refreshing. I actually made it for my kids on St. Patty's Day this year because of the rainbow colors. Anytime I make this, or my mother-in-law, everybody is always raving about it and there's never any leftovers. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found a dessert that you're looking forward to making. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe down below. I'll be posting more videos just like this one and many others. I would love to have you. All right, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.